Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's a late one tonight as we dive a little bit deeper into Celtic's result at Fir Park tomorrow. A massive 3-1 win at the death of the game for Celtic, which kind of keeps the league title hopes alive at the moment in time, but still improvement needed and still a long way to go. But nonetheless, a huge 3 points, some controversial talking points following the game as well, so we're going to try and dive through things quite quickly this evening. So we're not just rehashing everything that I said in the match reaction yesterday. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It'd be much appreciated. We're trying to get as close to 50,000 subscribers as we can this year, so you guys help big time by pressing those buttons. It's down below. It's absolutely free, and hopefully you'll see us through a tricky end to the season. But let's have a recap on yesterday very quickly, where it leaves Celtic and what the league table is looking like. So here's the league table and all of its... I'm not going to use the word glory because it's still not looking great for Celtic. We are behind Rangers now in second place, as we know. 65 points to Rangers 67, so a 2-point gap there. But Rangers now pulling away on goal difference as well, following their 5-0 thrashing of Hearts at the weekend. Celtic did make up for it with a couple of goals at the end of the game yesterday, of course, and closed the gap from what it could have been. But still, behind on points, behind on goal difference. It's not where we should be right now. That 10-point swing is certainly stinging Celtic supporters at the moment. But that result yesterday can't be undermined how important that is in regards to challenging for the title now. And it's going to be a really hard last 11 games. There's some tough places to go. We still need to go to Ibrox. We still need to go to Tynecastle. There's some tough opposition in this league, as we've seen, and we've dropped points too many times, and we nearly did again yesterday. But a much better second half performance, some bravery in our attacking play, and ultimately some passion from the side ensured that we didn't leave Fir Park dropping points. And that's the passion that we need to see from now till the end of the season. I spoke about this heavily yesterday in the match reaction video, so I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but those full-time scenes at Fir Park yesterday afternoon, the players coming towards the fans and the fans embracing the players. Obviously, I was there for a change. I actually managed to get an away ticket. You know, being there and feeling that, you know, it was kind of on display, the passion that still lies within these Celtic players, because it's been questioned many a time in recent weeks. So many times we've turned around and said, have these players still got what it takes? Have they down tools? Who's good enough? Who's not good enough? But you could see it in the full-time celebrations yesterday that there still is fight in this team that is Celtic at the moment. And I know I've seen a few Rangers fans commenting online yesterday, commenting on my video as well yesterday, talking about pathetic scenes celebrating a win. You can, we're 2 points behind. We're celebrating, whatever. I don't need to go over the exacts of how many times over the years Rangers have celebrated when they've ended the season trophyless. There is nothing wrong with celebrating in victory, especially when it's a huge win for Celtic that spurs us on to try and fight for a title. Those celebrations were warranted. We fought hard to the end of yesterday's game. We battled for all 3 points and we got that, and the fans had that huge sense of relief that was celebrated with the players. But in saying all of that, that's exactly the kind of passion and exactly the kind of fight that Celtic need to show in every game from now on. We were far better yesterday in that second half than what we've been in other games. And that's the same levels we should be producing week in, week out, rather than performances that are miles off it and so lazy. Show that passion. Show the same passion that's in the celebrations. And we will stop, dropping points recklessly at Celtic Park or recklessly against other teams in the league. That's still there in this group of players. And I've never doubted that for one moment, that it was deep down in them. But prove it to us in this last 11 games. Fight and end the season with a league title. It's not going to be easy. And right now you could say that Rangers might be the favourites. But as long as we show that week in, week out, we've still got every fighting chance of going for this title. So I hope that they carry that on to the performance on Wednesday night against Dundee. I hope they carry it forward into these tough games we've got coming in the run-up. And hopefully we keep the pressure on Rangers. It was huge, and I can't even begin to explain how massive and how important it was for Celtic to keep this title within a game's reach. If we drew that game yesterday, we would have been 4 points behind, which would have gave Rangers that little comfort blanket they maybe needed. But now we've kept it within one game's reach. The pressure still is on Rangers, and I expect them to keep winning games. I expect them to keep performing. But as long as Celtic can keep doing the same thing, we can still control our own story, which is exactly what Brendan Rodgers wants to do. So one of the bigger reactions from yesterday's game was Brendan Rodgers' reaction himself, and it's kind of the same reaction he's been rolling with for the last sort of week or so, about creating our own story, finishing our own story. He started sounding a wee bit like Cody Rhodes as he's doing all of this, but he's not wrong in what he's saying in terms of creating our own narrative and controlling that, you know. Because a lot of people have had it out for Celtic in regards to how this season finishes. You know, a lot of people saying that it's done, a lot of people saying that they're not good enough. And on the surface, with the performances and the way we've been playing, you wouldn't be, I wouldn't say you've been wrong in saying so, but to count Celtic out is obviously got to Brendan Rodgers personally and the players personally, and they want to put that to bed. But with Brendan Rodgers saying all of that, now is the time for him to put up or shut up. He's got to display that over the next 11 games. He's got to get his team performing to that level for the next 11 games. Otherwise, all of these comments about writing their own story mean absolutely nothing. You know, you can't hit out with those things and then Dundee, we deliver another flat performance which invokes no confidence within the support to challenge for a league title. You've got to back up these comments, and I think there's been a number of times over the course of this season where maybe Brendan Rodgers hasn't backed his comments up, and even being the huge Brendan Rodgers fan that I am, that's been frustrating. So now is the time to do that. Now is the time to actually go out there and show that we are writing our own story, as he puts it, from here till the end of the season, and that we don't need to give up on a league title just yet. And for all the media and all the opposition fans and such who are thinking that it's already over, now's the time for Celtic to kind of change the course of that story. But that's got to be reflected now. We've got to expect the same standards that we've seen at the second half at Fir Park yesterday throughout the next few games. And then Brendan Rodgers can be kind of rewarded almost for the confidence he still has in this team. None of this side-to-side nonsense, none of the slow tempo stuff that isn't giving the fans anything to shout about. Give us that same bravery that Celtic showed in the second half yesterday, and I have confidence we still can do this. It isn't over until the final whistle of the final game. Brendan Rodgers was pleased with the team's performance in the second half yesterday. He's praised a few of the players, but one of the players that we have to talk about, and one that he's praised very highly, is that performance of Cameron Carter-Vickers, and how important that he was coming back into the side yesterday. And I don't think you could deny that. I think that's something that he's spot on about, and something that you could see firsthand if you were watching the game. I think there was a huge difference when he came on the park. Now, I do feel like he made the wrong substitution at the time. I think that maybe Liam Scales should have made way for Vickers, and Nawrocki should have stayed in the park. I think Scales had quite a poor game yesterday, and I don't think Nawrocki really put a foot wrong. But he made the change, and you could just see the difference with somebody as good and with the ability of Cameron Carter-Vickers. The difference that he makes to the side is unbelievable, and just everything that we've done from the back seemed to have a lot more composure in it, but just a lot more quality in it as well. His outball, his defensive abilities that we all know about, his tracking back, his tackling, just everything just seems so more assured with Cameron Carter-Vickers back in the side, and the absence of him has hurt Celtic, there is no denying it, because something as simple as a forward 10-yard pass just looks better on the eye, let alone anything else, when Cameron Carter-Vickers is the one doing it. So his return to the team is going to be huge for Celtic in this closing stage of the season. This was Brendan Rodgers' comments on Vickers yesterday. He said that, yeah, it's massive for us to see Cameron Carter-Vickers back. You can see when he comes into the game, there's no trouble. The big guy up front for Motherwell gave us a few problems in the first half with his strength and his size, and Cameron comes in and just controls that side of it and allows us to play and get forward quicker because he's controlling that along with Scalesy. So him, Cameron Carter-Vickers, coming back is huge for us. And yeah, you can see that, you know, the composure that he brings in. He helps players like Liam Scales. I think that Liam Scales had a far better second half than he did the first half, and that's probably due to the presence of Cameron Carter-Vickers. So psychologically, this does a huge thing for Celtic in the last 11 games, having him back in the side. And he was one of a couple of players yesterday who really showed their quality for me. I think there was a couple of players who really made a case to say that they're undroppable in the next couple of games, and this has been a season where you've not really been able to say that. Even if someone's played well in a game, to call them undroppable or to say that they need to be starting or whatever is maybe a bridge too far because no one's been consistent enough apart from maybe someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers, the big dogs in the team. But yesterday, a big shout out to both Yang and Tomoki Iwata, who I thought both had a brilliant game, and I thought really helped Celtic in the quest for fighting and those getting those 3 points. Tomoki was brilliant in the middle of the park, and when he was subbed off at the time, I was so confused. I couldn't believe that he actually went off, but he'd done everything that you want a natural number 6 to do. I thought he protected the back line well when he needed to. I thought he looked comfortable as well. He broke up play when he needed to. He just looked good. And maybe that's what we need from now to the end of the season, that ready number 6. Because McGregor hasn't been performing to his best in that role this season. There's no denying that. And I think that Tomoki did play well yesterday. He had a huge part to play in fighting back for those goals. And Yang, when he came on the park, and I've been very critical of Yang this season. If you've been watching the channel week in, week out, you'll know that I've maybe not given the impression that I'm the biggest fan of Yang. But he was the best winger we had in the park yesterday by a country mile. Kuhn was mince. Palma didn't play too long, obviously. Maida wasn't great, missed a few big chances. And I just thought, especially in that first half, we were lacking any sort of desire on the left or right hand side. But when Yang came on, he did have that desire and he did move forward. I'm not saying that everything he'd done was perfect, because there was still imperfections in his game. There was still bits that were annoying, but at least he had the determination to actually bring a change down that right hand side when he was on the park. And I think he deserves a massive shout out. So I think probably deserves a start against Dundee on Wednesday night. Because why should Kuhn get in ahead of him after his performances recently? So big shout out to those two. After being left in the cold for quite a while, they come on, they make such a big difference. I know Tomoki was injured for a bit, but they came in, they made a difference yesterday, and that's huge. Finally, before we end off the video, I should probably talk about the elephant in the room. I didn't really want to, because I can't be bothered with that divisive comment section, because there's going to be two very different schools of thought down there in regards to this situation, but I would be rude not to talk about it, I suppose. But Brendan Rodgers has been urged to apologise to BBC reporter Jane Lewis after his conduct in their BBC interview yesterday. Brendan Rodgers obviously made a remark towards the end of the interview, which you all know by now, just before, storming out the room, which has left some people very upset. Yeah, there's no point in asking me for a big grand opinion on it, because I don't think that it's something that needs over-escalated into a huge deal. But at the same time, I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers himself will probably be kicking himself for the way that he maybe conducted his own business when he left said interview. He's probably just not thought about things. He's made a comment he probably shouldn't have made. But we'll see if it gets addressed tomorrow. It is the big talking point right now in regards to Celtic and Brendan Rodgers. He'll be disappointed. He'll probably be frustrated, but he was frustrated. And I think, when it gets to these tedious interviews, and I'm not trying to sound like an apologist by any means here, but when you get in these interviews and you have been getting it for weeks, the same question time after time, and when you're maybe getting a little bit frustrated at a certain line of questioning, you end up just saying things that probably weren't the best comments to make. So he was annoyed in his interview. He said what he said. It's now up to him to decide if he feels like it's worthy of an apology. But Jane Lewis and certain people on social media are certainly not happy with how Brendan Rodgers has conducted said interview. He wants to write his own story instead of being getting told what the story is by the media. I can see why he's popped off. Maybe just shouldn't have done it in the way that he did. Right then, that does it for today's video. If you've enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.